YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited to check out Queendomino from Blue Orange Games. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 plus. It'll take about 25 minutes to play. And Queendomino is the standalone expansion slash sequel to the original Kingdomino. Kingdomino was a delightful take on dominoes where you were going to be building a city and trying to get points by putting crowns and various different chunks of different parts of lands together. They took that game and they made it into a more gamery game with Queendomino. But are those changes good? Are those changes bad? Are they about the same? Is it a good expansion? Is it a good standalone game? So many questions. Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Queendomino. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet. It's 8 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, and it's very well done. Huge thumbs up on the rule booklet. And also, the last page is just an example of scoring and actually how you can mix this with the original Kingdomino, which I'll talk more about in the pros and cons. So in Queendomino, you are going to be building a 5x5 or 7x7 city. You're going to start off with this little teeny tiny castle and one knight and your king, and then you are going to try to accrue money and build buildings and build various different plots of lands in order to gain the most victory points. You'll do that by getting crowns, by getting buildings, by doing a couple different things. Let's go over the components, and then we'll get into the gameplay. So first, component-wise, I do want to mention that I want to show you the box insert. It's a very nice box insert, and I have a whole bunch of tiles that are still left over in here. This is what your typical tile looks like. On the back, it's going to have a number. On the front, it's going to have 2 little territory plots on there. But nice box insert. This is going to be your general setup that you're going to see in front of you. And if you're familiar with Kingdomino, you'll notice that there's a couple big changes. So first and foremost, you're going to have these towers right here. And these towers will be things you physically will build on some of your buildings that you'll be able to build. I feel like I said that word a lot. You're also going to have these little black knights here. These are taxmen. They will go into your town and they will tax people, which will help gain you money. Why do you need money? Well, you're going to need money because in this game, you're going to have buildings that you will be able to build on the new red squares, which are these building squares right here. And these buildings do a variety of different things, and they'll get you money in a variety of different ways. So for instance, this one's a pretty simple one. This one's just going to give you 5 victory points at the end of the game, so that's pretty good as well. There's a whole bunch of these ones out there. This one, for every blue spot you have on the board, for every blue patch of water you have on the board, you are going to get $2. So for instance, right now, if this was what my city looked like, which obviously it probably would not, I would get 2 victory points if I had this guy. Now, I would still get 2 victory points. However, if this were over here somehow, that would get me 4 victory points because I have 2 different plots of water. And there's a whole bunch of them for all the different territories in there. Some of them will give you towers. And why are towers important? Well, towers are important because if you have towers, then the queen, which is this little meeple right here, will be more likely to come to your city. So whoever has the lead in towers will have the queen on their town, which will give you a 1 coin cheaper discount on purchasing the buildings up there. Also, at the end of the game, if you still have her, she will count as a crown wherever you want her to, which means she will be a bonus point modifier for when you're tallying up your score. But there's a variety of different buildings in this game. Some of them will give you more taxmen, so you can tax a whole bunch or make it more lucrative when you tax, or do a variety of different things. A really cool addition to the game. We'll talk more about it later. Last but not least, we have the dragon right here, and the dragon will burn one of these buildings down. You'll use him strategically from time to time. But let's go over exactly what you're going to do in the game. And if you're familiar with Kingdomino, you will be familiar with the general steps of this game. So, at the beginning of each round, you're going to have 4 of these tiles set out right here. And these are tiles that you are going to potentially get for your city. This is also going to help dictate turn order. So let's just say this is what the end of our last round looked like. So, orange took the one on top, white took this one, red took this one, purple took this one. This means during the next round, when we unveil 4 new tiles, which we'll do right now, 6, 19, 22, 38, that means orange is going to get first. They're going to pick first. Now, another thing you'll also have to do is you'll have to make sure you put these in numerical order, because the higher numbered tiles are going to be generally better tiles, but they are going to make it so you're going to go last or third most of the time. So, what do you do on your turn? Let's just step in and we'll do it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to send you're going to send out your king, and he's going to pick one of these tiles. So for me personally, I might go with this one. That one looks pretty decent. I can connect this to that. Next, what you're going to do is you are going to take your tile and you are going to put it on your city. And I'm running a little bit out of room over here, so we'll build my city right over here. Now, how the connection rules work are normally you have to make sure that at least one of your 2 plots of land that you're going to have on here connect with a matching plot of land. So either this would have to connect with a wheat, or this would have to connect with a field or whatever it is. But luckily, the middle spot is always a wild. So I could just start off and I can do this right here, and that would be what I'd want to do. So now that I've done that, I have a couple other optional actions that I can take. The first thing I can do is I can send a taxman to tax. If I do that, I'm going to put him on one of the spots on my city that does not already have a taxman, and I will collect as much money as there are tiles in that chunk of land. So for instance, right now this wouldn't be a very great time to tax because that would only get me $1. But let's pretend I had this one. Now I get $2. Now I would get $3. So as you can see, oh, it's a run out of room here. Now I'd get $3. So as you build bigger plots of land, taxing is going to become more and more appealing as it will get you more and more money. The next thing you can do is you can construct a building if you have an open building spot, which, as I mentioned, are these red spots right here. And if that's the case, you look up here and you pay what you want. They're between 0 and 5 coins. Also, if you happen to have the most towers and have the queen, you will get a 1 coin discount on purchasing those, which can really add up, especially if that is your strategy. Next, what you can do is you are going to be able to send out the dragon if you would like. So if you send out the dragon is going to cost you 1 coin to hire, but he will go out and he will burn one of these buildings. So let's just say this is a great building for somebody and you don't want anybody else to get it. You send out the dragon, you spend 1 coin, boom, this tile is now out of the game. One more thing I want to mention that I completely just spaced on is you can actually send 2 knights out, but they have to go on 2 different spots. You can send 1 or 2 knights out. Last but not least, you're going to pick which domino you want to pick for next turn. I actually kind of did this a little bit out of turn order. You're actually supposed to take the tile down from underneath, then do all that stuff, and then move your king over. And that's pretty much it. You're going to rinse, wash, and repeat. At the end of the round, you're going to slide these over, move the dragon back, and you're going to continue to do this over and over and over again until everyone has completed a 5x5 grid or a 7x7 grid in a 2-player game. Now, one thing that's really important to note about this game is sometimes you will not be able to complete a 5x5 grid or a 7x7 grid because you do not plan accordingly. That actually will happen quite frequently. And that's the scenario, then just tough cookies, that's what happens. Eventually, though, once you've completed your grids, what's going to happen is you're going to go to your handy-dandy little scorecard over here. And this will give you points for how many coins you have. You'll get points for how many crowns you have. And how the crown system works is it's really quite simple. It's how many of a given kind of chunk you have times the number of crowns. So let's take a look at this one right here. Let's take a look at this patch. So I have 3 woods in this chunk of area times 2 crowns, so I would get 6 victory points for these woods. Whereas over here in these pastures, I have 3 times 0 crowns, so I get 0 points, which would be a big bummer. So you want to have large areas of the same type of whatever these are, trees or water or whatnot, but you also want to have crowns as well. Next, you'll get victory points for all your buildings. So some of them will give you just flat victory points, like say this one will give you 3 victory points. Some of them, as I mentioned, will give you victory points based on how many different chunks of particular types of land you have. Some will give you victory points for knights or for towers or various different things. And then you'll tally up the points. Whoever has the most points will be the winner of Queendomino, and that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Queendomino from Blue Orange Games. So what are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. Now that being said, if you have the original Kingdomino, then you can play up to 6 players. And I will say in the pro side that I really did like it at 5 and 6 players. Spoiler alert. Another comment I have with this game is that it definitely does add a little bit more complexity to the game. One of the beautiful things about Kingdomino was it was very easy to learn, it was very easy to teach, and it was very straightforward. While this game still is easy to learn and easy to teach, there's just an extra layer to this game. There's an extra layer or 2 to this game that make it slightly more complex. And some of those building tiles will be slightly confusing to newer gamers, which is a little bit of a bummer. So I would say Kingdomino, amazing gateway game, like an absolutely outstanding, essential gateway game. This is just a little bit more of a step up. I still think you can use it as a gateway game, but I still think I would grab Kingdomino as a gateway game before I would grab this as a gateway game, which might be a turnoff to some people. Also, larger box, whatever. But some people are going to complain about how the box sizes are different. One con that I have with this game is the fact that the original Kingdomino content cannot fit into this box with the insert that is there. I really hate when expansions do that. Come on! You made it a bigger box. Give me a box insert that can fit everything that is Kingdomino and Queendomino, because you know what? I'm probably going to have both of them, and I'm going to want to buy both of them because Queendomino is fantastic. Spoiler alert. Any other cons that I have with the game? I wish there was a slightly bit more variety of building tiles. Like, there's a good deal of building tiles, but I wish there was just a little bit more. Now, that being said, if you add more building tiles, that will up the complexity just a slight bit more, which I think they wanted to not do. But that being said, I would have liked a little bit more variety in those building tiles. But moving on to the pros, all this washes to the wayside. Queendomino is fantastic. Queendomino is absolutely outstanding, fantastic, and it's one of my new favorite gateway games that I will go to. And I would say it's a Kingdomino killer, but to be honest with you, the fact that it plays so well at 5 and 6 players means that I'm going to keep both, and I'm going to, unfortunately, rip out this fantastic box insert, which I said was how great it was, and put everything into one box. But what do I like about Queendomino? Well, I'll put it like this. It's just Kingdomino, but with more gamery stuff. And me being a gamer, that's exactly what I wanted. I loved Kingdomino. I loved its streamlined simplicity, and this just adds a little tiny extra layer, and I'm a huge fan of that. It's the reason why I feel like Ticket to Ride Europe is just a slight bit better than Ticket to Ride, because it just adds that little extra layer, and I love that. Continuing onward, what else do I like about it? Components, absolutely top-notch components. It's really cool building the city in front of you and seeing it come together. I also like the fact that I think I've played this 5 times now. Each of the games was really close. Every single game we played of this has been within, say, 3 to 5 coins. And all the strategies seem viable. Money seems like the least viable strategy. But there's different paths to victory, and I really like that. And I've had games where someone has been like, oh my gosh, these forests are going to score me 60 points. I'm going to crush everybody. But at the same time, that other person maybe sneaked in with just like a 1 or 2 point victory because they had all these really good buildings. And if you can get some buildings that will stack on top of each other, that can be absolutely huge, and that can completely change your strategy for the game. And I really, really like that. Other things I like about this game, I mean, obviously, it had a fantastic engine from the ground up. I mean, Kingdomino is an absolutely outstanding engine, and they just added to it. I really like the fact that when you're picking those tiles, like what tile you want, you also need to be thinking about where it's going to put you in the turn order, and I like that an awful lot. I liked it as an expansion, I liked it as a standalone game, and Queendomino is a very easy game to recommend. Family game, absolutely. Outstanding family game, one of my favorite family games of the year. Gamer game, yes, yes, yes. This is a fantastic lightweight filler game. I played this on my game night, went over very well. I played it in my classroom, went over very, very well. I played it with my wife, it went over very well. I played it with another couple who's not really that much into games. When they come over, they know that I'm a huge gamer, so obviously they're like, oh, is there any new games you'd be interested in playing? You think we might like? And I was like, yeah, I think you might like this one. And I even gave them the choice. I was like, would you like the Kingdomino or Queendomino? Queendomino is just a little bit more complex. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. And it went over incredibly well. Just, it's a fantastic game. Bruno, you're so good. You're so good at this. You're so good at this. So, Queendomino, here's the final words. If you're looking at this purely as an expansion, yes, it's a great expansion, and I think it's better than Kingdomino. If you're looking at this as a standalone game, as long as you don't mind the fact it's 2 to 4 players, yes, yes, yes. Pretty much, I really... The only cons I have with this that I forgot to mention is it's very light and very simple, which I think will be a turnoff for some people. But for the most part, Queendomino is fantastic. Absolutely going to want to check this one out. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. In the comments below, let me know, dominoes. Did you ever play them as a kid, and did you enjoy them as a kid? I do remember playing them as a kid, and I remember not enjoying it and getting bored and then just, stacking them up and kind of knocking them over. And I did enjoy doing that as a kid, though. But let me know in the comments below. Dominoes, was that ever your thing? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.